Titans and Steelers looking to bounce back from Week 16 losses to claim some spots in the playoffs. They want in, and Tiffany Blackman is here with more on what's on the line for Tennessee.
Hey, Kay, it's win and you're in for the Titans when they face the Texans this weekend. This is the third straight year that their season finale has come down to a win and you're in scenario. When I spoke with safety Kevin Byard, he told me that they've got a good chance against a team they know very well. He said guys know what's at stake and that they won't need too many motivational talks or speeches. This Titans team, though, will get a huge boost with Derrick Henry back in the backfield. He was out last week resting a hamstring injury. Now, when Henry rushes for 90 yards or more, this Titans team is 6-0. But it's not just about what he does when he has the ball. This offense, quarterback Ryan Tannehill, they have excelled in the play action, and I spoke with Henry about that. He told me when you're running the ball and it's working really well for your offense, he said, I think when you do play action, defenses tend to bite more. He said it's been a focal point for us as an offense being locked in the run game. Now to Aditi Kinkabwala in Pittsburgh.
Well, Tiffany, the Steelers will certainly be Texans fans come Sunday. They need Houston to beat those Titans. And, of course, they need to take care of their own business down in Baltimore. Wide receiver James Washington said you can definitely tell that it's a hot week. He said the coaches are bringing the pressure and that the execution in practice is extremely precise. Of course, veteran linebacker Vince Williams, hearing that, said, come on, we've been in a must-win situation since practically week 5. And the truth is, should this team move on, it will likely be the defense that carries them. I talked to Cam Hayward about this defense that has been so good at getting sacks, so good at getting takeaways, and so may need to actually score itself. Hayward said that, yes, with the offense's struggles, that's probably something the defense needs to do. And in the Ravens, they will not see Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram. They'll instead see Robert Griffin and Gus Edwards. So Hayward said the key is to be aggressive, but be calculated in the way that the Steelers are aggressive. Okay?
Aditi, Tiffany, thank you so much as we welcome in Ian Rappaport. Sounds like the Titans will get some firepower back, but the Steelers are dealing with some injuries, though they might be facing a Ravens squad that's sitting most of their firepower. So, Ian, what's the latest on guys like James Conner, Juju Smith-Schuster as the Steelers get set for their Week 17 matchup?
No, James Conner, Kay, is dealing with a pretty deep thigh bruise of one he had last week. Actually had an MRI earlier in the week. The hope was that he'll be able to practice before the week is out. He's running out of time. Didn't practice earlier in the week, did not practice yesterday. We'll see if he's able to practice today. If not, the likelihood is that James Conner will miss another game. Juju Smith-Schuster, though, who's really battled a knee injury for the last month or so, not on the injury report, so he came out of the game unscathed. He is going to be fine, and obviously one of the bigger injuries we have talked about over the last couple weeks. Derrick Henry sat out last week, mostly as a precaution with a hamstring. He is good to go as a full participant yesterday. But then, of course, the big question, how many of the Texans players are actually going to play in this game? Deshaun Watson, the star quarterback, has been limited with a back injury. DeAndre Hopkins has had a little bit of an illness. Laramie Tunsil has an ankle. A lot of their key guys are banged up. Just hard to imagine, Kay, with so little at stake for the Houston Texans, a lot of their key guys out on the field. And, of course, let's say it's Deshaun Watson. If you're going to sit him with a back injury, if you're going to make sure that he's 100% for the playoff game, then how many of the other guys are you actually going to play? I wouldn't be surprised, based on what I know, if we see a number of backups in Houston.
Especially if the Chiefs take care of business against the Chargers earlier, and letting the Titans into the playoffs, not necessarily the worst thing. If they then have to go and face the Chiefs and Arrowhead, a team that they beat already this season, they might just wipe their hands clean of a lot of things, the Texans, in this game while getting some rest. Ian, thanks for hanging out with us as we flip it over to the playoff picture where the Steelers, as we know, need a win against Baltimore. That's not it, though. They need the Titans to lose to take that 6th seed in the AFC. Schrager, I want you to be a realist, like you've been all morning. Which team's better poised for a bounce-back performance Week 17? Both teams lost. Both teams can make it into the playoffs. Tennessee or Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh should win. You're going up against Robert Griffin, and you're not going against Lamar Jackson. You're going up against an offensive line that won't feature Marshall Yanda. You're going up against a team that doesn't have Mark Ingram, and they're not going to play Brandon Big Baby Williams. So Pittsburgh should win that game. They should. You should beat the backup quarterback.
I disagree, but go ahead.
You should win that game. If you're a playoff team, you should win that game. The Titans have to win this game. If the Titans do not win this game against a Texans team, to which Ian alluded to and Kay, you've said throughout the morning, are not in their best position to start all their starters and go full spirit because you don't have to. The Titans don't belong in the playoffs. The Titans, to me, all season long, we've been saying, okay, we know it's going to happen. Week 17, the Titans are going to play in a win-in.
We say it every day.
Last year, it happened. And guess what happened last year? Marcus Mariota did not start. Blaine Gabbert did. We go to the game. It's a big one. And the Titans completely laid an egg at home. Had nothing. The Colts beat them 33-17. It was the finish to a great comeback season for the Indianapolis Colts from the brink at 1-5. Titans didn't have it at home. Titans cannot lay an egg because 2 weeks ago against the Texans in a similar situation, which should have totally changed this deal for them in Week 17, they didn't show up. They didn't play the game. Titans, I just think this is your year to get in the playoffs. Things have worked out perfectly. The board is right there. Go beat the Texans' backups and take care of business. If not, I don't want to see you in January anyway.
Yeah, I want to talk about Titans, but real quick, you mentioned the Steelers. You said they should, and I know you're speaking theoretically and with starters being down, and you said you're going against backup quarterback. Are you telling me that there's an advantage at the quarterback position for the Steelers over the advantage that they're bringing RG3 in off the bench, who's been there for 2 years?
Fair.
I just feel like it's disrespect to RG3 in that offense. I feel like they're going to flow a lot better than what we saw the Steelers because they've been wildly inconsistent.
I would think the Ravens would show nothing on offense.
I get that point.
Basic offense.
I get
Everyone's
that point.
watching this footage from Week 17. I don't think it's in RG3's best to showcase everything. If they're
Who do
not
you
gonna
think's
do it.
winning that game, Pittsburgh or the Ravens with RG3?
I feel like the Ravens will.
That's possible. It's happened.
And maybe it's because of the inconsistency that Pittsburgh has played with. I feel like a very basic ran offense for the Ravens will beat a Steelers team.
The way they looked against the Jets, you can't argue with that. And Duck Hodges,
But the Duck Hodges thing is interesting. And let me add a wrinkle.
What's up?
Remember last week, Duck Hodges got benched, all right? Mike Tomlin had a quick hook. I got no patience for that. 2 picks, you're out. Mason Rudolph, you're in. Mason Rudolph is now an injured reserve.
Yep.
In this game in which they have zero room for error, do you know if Duck Hodges comes out and throws a couple, do you know who the Steelers' backup quarterback is?
Is it Paxton Lynch?
Show the picture. This is the Steelers' backup quarterback. That's Paxton Lynch, guys. And we're talking about a franchise with Terry Bradshaw and Ben Roethlisberger, and the playoff hopes very well could be on the shoulder of Paxton Lynch, if not Duck Hodges. I think if Duck Hodges throws one bad picker, I think he's out. Tomlin has no patience. I also think, staying in the AFC, there's an interesting psyche thing with the Titans going on here, where I think all year they've had, no pressure, not a lot of expectations. We benched Mariota. We're just riding free. Tannehill. If they're out there and they're against A.J. McCarron, who's Deshaun Watson's backup, now that's all the pressure. You have to beat that team.
They're expected to.
Of course. And it's the first time all year. I'm like, Tannehill, you have to win this or everyone's laughing at you. So I said Week 17 is a lunatic. It's contingent upon Paxton Lynch, A.J. McCarron, RG3, and Ryan
Phillip Rivers
Tannehill.
largely, too.
And Phillip Rivers.
Rivers somehow goes and beats those Chiefs, then Deshaun Watson, he's playing.
Who are those
Maybe.
four quarterbacks? And add Rivers in, but who?
RG3, Paxton Lynch, Duck Hodges, A.J. McCarron. I mean, this is where
That's
we're at.
where we're
And
at.
all these guys are going to have a say in what we're talking about Monday morning.
I'll
It's
say
wild.
this. One name that we do have isn't one of those names.
Yeah.
It's not a quarterback. Is Mike Tomlin. So when you say that the Ravens will win, or that you think that they'll win this game based on that, I just wanted to show you guys that this crazy number we found about Week 17 games with Mike Tomlin, 11-0. Mike Tomlin teams are 11-0 in Week 17 games. What does that tell you about the way that he coaches and gets his team going?
I respect it. Now, not all of those seasons were playoff years, but I respect it.
But even then, there's nothing to play for, and you're still making these guys go out there and keep it at 100.
That's a crazy stat. And for a guy who's been in Week 17 and looked around the locker room and literally saw a look in somebody's eyes like, this dude is checked out, and I'm about to go out there and line up next to him for the next 3 hours, I can't believe I'm in a locker room with this guy. So for him to have that number, I respect it. But at the same time, Harbaugh is one of those individuals that
You
gets these
think
guys
it's
going.
about to be 11-1, Nate? Didn't you just say that?
I do. I strongly believe that the Ravens will win this. But quickly on the Titans, though, we talked about not having anything to play. Deshaun Watson, I was at that game this past weekend. This dude was limping around after the first quarter. DeAndre Hopkins is a little banged up. Will Fuller didn't even make it into halftime before he's banged up. J.J. Watt, he's practicing. He wants to play in the playoffs. Who else on the defense side are they going to pull out? So this just means for me that Derek Manchild Henry is going to have 400 yards. You're talking about, I'm exaggerating, but I do feel like Derek Henry is going to have a monster game.
Rapshi says he's good to go.
Not to mention with all that, before the starters possibly being pulled on the Texans side, they're the 20th ranked rush defense. So if you're Derrick Henry, you said out last week, you're back in the fold. You want to create some momentum going into, you got to go, bro. And you got to create some momentum going into the playoffs, right?
Let me ask one question from the Chiefs side of this. The Chiefs, let's say they're the likely 3 seed, and they're going to be hosting the Steelers or the Titans. Who would you rather see come in there? A Tomlin coach team that's going to be fired up coming in from the win on week 17?
Give me the Titans.
Or the Titans. You'd want to face, give me Tannehill and Vrabel, first playoff games. The two of them are going to be playing in big spots.
I'd rather have the Steelers just because of their quarterback.
That's it.
I think we can pounce whoever it is.
Yep.
Duck Hodges, first play, I'll take
Give
him.
me the Steelers. I'd rather face the Steelers.
I think so.
No
I do.
doubt.
I also think
That
that
run defense with the Chiefs makes me not want to see Derrick Henry, that's for sure.
maybe so. Maybe so. I think that the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game is the most intriguing one this week because I think the Ravens' backups are different than we're emptying the bench. Like, their juice on the sideline, and RG3, like, it feels eerily similar to Marshawn. Like, it's a guy who was the guy, and everyone knows the rock star status and the talent. I don't think that's like, well, here's our backup, go in. I think they still have very good players, and I think that crowd is going to be crazy. I'm going to talk about the sideline. I think they're going to win that game, too.
Schrager, I changed my mind. I think I would rather see the Steelers than the Titans. What do you think?
I would rather see the Titans and the Steelers just because if they get in there, you're telling me I've got to go up against that defense. The quarterback, whatever, that's fine. That defense, Mahomes is going to have fits against that defense because that defense might be the best in the league.
But you can't say that quarterback, whatever, because when you look at Mason Rudolph, I know he's out, Devlin Duck Hodges, he has thrown away the game. As much as we hyped him up and did the duck calls here, that worries anybody. So if you're a defense facing a young quarterback who has no experience, you want that dude to see the bright lights.
I've seen Mike Tomlin go into Kansas City on a divisional round 2 years ago. Now, he had Ben and Le'Veon, all those guys, and Mike Tomlin won in that situation, in that Arrowhead. I don't want to see Mike Tomlin.
Just looking at this year,
you think he carries that big of a stick, Tomlin, even with that quarterback? I like him, but like there's no Roethlisberger.
I do.
He can get that defense out of their minds.
The Titans D is good too. They're not as famous as the Steelers.
Ryan Tannehill hasn't thrown away a game yet. Duck Hodges has.
Fair.
You're right.
Do you know who's mad at all of us right now?
Who?
Oakland.
Yeah, we didn't mention them.
We didn't mention them.
They're not awake yet.
What do you want to say? What should we say?
I don't. You don't think?
No, it's...
I want.
Are they third on the list of? Are they third on the list of teams that you'd be scared to face?
If the Raiders got in
somehow
and they made the miracle, yeah, I don't want to face them. And I've been praying, and I'm not a religious man, but I've been praying. I just don't think it's going to happen.
More on the playoff picture coming up.